Hello and good morning friends, welcome to this Easy EduSet live lecture. Dear friends, in this session today we would be talking on value education as well as its implications. We would be discussing in detail the concept of value as well as its educational implications. And for this discussion we have once again with us in our studios Dr. Parveen Sharma. Dr. Parveen Sharma is Associate Professor in Hindu College of Education. Dr. Sharma has authored numerous books and she has been teaching since 30 years. Lots of students are pursuing their PhD under her able guidance, and she has written a number of articles, number of research papers for both national and international journals. So let's welcome Dr. Parveen Sharma and let's try to understand what is value education and what are its implications. Hello ma'am, welcome to EduSet lecture.
Thank you Geetika ji. Good morning viewers and listeners. We come across the word time and again value crisis. So today in this session we would like to discuss about what do we mean actually by value crisis, what is the concept of value and what is the need of value education in the era of this value crisis and the time of competition. There is a throat cut competition. So in this time of competition, what is the need of value education and what are the reasons lying behind this value crisis? We come across, we listen time and again that there is the erosion in the values and in the youngsters there is no value formation. So what are the reasons? Who is responsible for this value crisis? Why the degradation in values is being taking place, and where we are responsible, and what can be the role of teacher or teacher educators, and how far one individual is responsible for this value formation. So in this session we'll discuss what is the meaning of value, what is its concept, what are the types, and what are the reasons behind the erosion of the values. After independence, we in India has progressed a lot in the field of commerce, industry, education, science, medicine, technology, agriculture. But in the front of ethics, we have lost a lot, because everywhere after the progress in the other fields of trade and commerce and others, we have seen that people are just in the grip of egoism or frustration, tension, jealousy, hatred, self-centeredness. So what are the reasons why the people are in the grip of these egoism or self-centeredness? So this value crisis is to be understood by everyone, and we have to inculcate the value education among our youngsters. So how can we inculcate? We'll see step by step. See, the Kothari Commission has rightly observed the expanding knowledge and the growing power which it places at the disposal of modern society must therefore be combined with the strengthening and deepening of the sense of social responsibility and a keener appreciation of moral and spiritual values. We will have to understand by the moral and spiritual values, as I have spoken to you, that we have progressed a lot in the field of agriculture, commerce and industry, but on the front of moral and spiritual values we have lost. So we will have to understand in depth, and inculcation of desirable values in the pupils is felt essential for meeting out the crisis of character. As I was just speaking to you that there is the value crisis and there is no character or no good habit formation among our youngsters. So how can we inculcate, and what is the need in the situation that is rapidly developing? It is equally important for us to give a proper value orientation to our educational system. Different philosophers view values from different angles, and it is to be clear that even when we value what we desire to become, we exhibit value. It is lacking in terms of society, social goodness and social ethics. This may set goals for achievement and they motivate, define all our activities, that is cognitive, affective and cognitive. But if they lack the social aspect, they portray values in the narrow sense. Let me explain, we have three aspects: cognitive, affective and cognitive. We have emotions, we have heart, we have intellect, we have mind. Mind and body, they have to work as a unit, and if we are lacking somewhere in our social or emotional aspect, it means they are portraying us in a narrow sense and we are having no value in the society. So again, see, after independence, the country adopted its own constitution and fixed goals like equality, liberty, justice and fraternity. Along with its democratic values like dignity of labor, creativity, brotherhood of people, tolerance and open society were also adopted. We have added to it secularism, democracy, classless society and spirit of inquiry. Even when aim has been economic and social development, spiritual values have also been respected. If I take you to back, before independence, when we were ruled over by Muslims or Britishers, there were clash in the values of the Indian values and the European values, and ultimately what happened, the Indian values, they went in the background and the European values, they came in the forefront and they started dominating the feelings and values of the people. And what happened, their aim, like Macaulay said in 1835, that we want to produce a class of people who should be Indian in blood and their opinion should be like British people. How visionary were they? What they said in 1835, it is being proved, because we have adopting the European values and our Indian ethics, our values, our culture, our heritage, they have gone in the background and we have forgotten our values, our culture. No doubt we have progressed a lot in the field of science and medicine and technologically. Technologically, we are moving forward, and what is the result? We have become a materialistic people. We have become like a machine, and people are busy in just amassing the money, and they are forgetting their the ethics like tolerance and love and feeling of brotherhood and the peace, and we are just busy in the throat cut competition, and we have forgotten the love and affection and those kinds of feelings which were the just gist of our country, because our country was basically known as like Sone ki Chidiya. So where are those cultural heritage, where those phenomena, they have gone, the concept has vanished. So we have to see why, what is the reason why these values are being eroded, because when we talk about value, we have to see, we have to know what is the yardstick, how can we measure what is value, because what was the value in long back, that is not value these days. There are different types of values. One is eternal values and other is the relative values. So first of all, when we talk in terms of value, we will have to consider what we consider value, because some values are relative. They change according to the circumstances, according to the concept of time. So first of all, we have to establish what we consider value before we say that these days the youngsters have no value, there is the value degradation, they do not know how to behave, because earlier what was considered value, these days the concept has been changed. So first of all, we will have to decide what we consider value. See, the problem arises when there appears differences in value of different people. One is value for me and may not be value for another person. It cannot be. We have to follow the norms of the society. We have to adhere to the norms of the society. At the time, the need of the yardstick is felt, which should be used to measure or evaluate if the values are good or bad. We talk about long back, the great philosophers and educationists, Kant, an idealist, believed in universal moral values, and Spencer, a naturalist, believed that an action is right which is conducive to self-preservation, and Dewey believed in pragmatic values, that is, all that works well is valuable. However, any of these values do not neglect social aspects. And values need not be confused with norms. Sometimes we confuse values with the norms. Norms are rules for behaving, because just now I have said that we have to adhere to the norms of the societies, and values are standards for desirability. In fact, values provide basis for accepting or rejecting a particular norm. Suppose our society has described or set or established that these are the norms. So, value provide a base for us whether to accept this norm or whether to reject this norm. So, value stands for the ideals a man live by and live for. And actually, if I talk to you, what happens? We come across or we read so many norms and values, and what generally people do, what suits the person, they accept that, and what doesn't suit, they reject. That is, in psychological terms, we call it an eclectic approach. What suits us, we say it's okay. What doesn't suit us, we reject it. So this we call as eclectic approach, because this value is not suited to me. So the values provide the basis for an individual whether to accept this norm or reject this norm. In order to bind a society, because definitely we have to live in the society, and we have to frame a social structure which bind our society on the basis of caste, language, creed, culture. We are not to be disintegrated. So we have to bind a society in unity, and to bind the society we need a value system. If there is a value system, all have to adhere to those norms. Only then we will be remaining united. Social systems are value born and value sustained. It can thus be summed up that value can have three dimensions: the thing or the object which a man has liked, preferred, enjoyed, that value in itself, that is the value of an individual. Second, the measure on which one makes selection is also called value. I have spoken to you that what suits one individual will select, and what doesn't suit will reject. So that is what I mean, that one has to make selection. If it is social, then the value may be called social value. And the objective which man holds before him for the achievement is also termed as value. So what can we draw from the meaning? Value relate to the aim of human life for the achievement of aims. Men frame certain notions, and these notions are called values. Our conduct is motivated by our values. See how one individual behave. Our behavior gets direction by the values we select. There are so many values. I have talked to you that we select some of the values. A man stands by or live for the value which he or she selects among all the established values. Some are eternal values and some are relative values. I will be talking to you what are the eternal values and what are its types, and how one can select or reject, what is the criteria, what is that yardstick. And values are masterminds which gives directions to one's strings. Value represents feelings, wants, interest, attitude, preference and opinions about what is right, just, fair or desirable. Value is the act of cherishing something. A person who values justice will spend a lot of energy in search of it, meaning by among all the established value, one cherishes the value of justice. So what that person will do, he will or she will spend a lot of time in searching what is the value, what is the justice, how one can go, one can find justice. He will spend time in searching the value of justice. John Dewey has said the value means primarily in price to esteem, to appraise and to estimate. It means the act of cherishing something, holding it dear, and also the act of passing judgment upon nature and amounts of values as compared with something else. And Dictionary of Education defines values as the things in which people are interested, things they want to desire to be or to become, feel and obligatory, worship or enjoy. Value is the cooperative result of an interaction between personal and impersonal elements. We interact with so many values, with so many persons, and after the interaction, what values we establish, we select or we reject, that interaction is the result, what we call as value. And creation and preservation of value is an important purpose of man, both creating the new value and preserving the old values which are the heritage of our society, of our nation, of our constitution, of our great leaders. And the greater the consideration and importance of values, the better is the social group, because we are not an oak tree. We are living in the society. We have to interact with the people living in the society, and we have to adhere to the norms of the society, to the values of the society. So this social group is important. Values have characteristics like subjectivity, objectivity, material or abstract, or elasticity. Some values are subjective, which are changed according to our likings or our dislikings, but some values are objective, some values are eternal, which cannot be changed, like what is good is always good, what is truth is always truth, because truth has no limitation, goodness has no boundaries, and beauty cannot be explained, beauty cannot be described. Satyam Shivam Sundram, that is the greatest value of our culture, of our society, of our nation. So what is good, that is good. So that is the objective value. And values have characteristics, and value aims at perfection. Why we established value? Through adhering to the values, we try to reach the perfection, we try to reach at the top of the level. That's only in that case where we can achieve the eternal value and self-realization. And after following that criteria, that yardstick of the value, we try to realize ourselves, for what I am born, for what and goodness I am on this earth. Am I doing well? Am I going on the right track? I am astray from the rightness. So how can we establish that kind of criteria, perfection and development and integrity and cohesion, that is must if we have to live in the society. Now I talk to you what are the types of values. First is the objective value, which is the eternal, then subjective value, and the third is the objective absolute value, and fourth is the educational values. What is the objective value? This is in fact universal value and have nothing to do with your liking and disliking. These are also called intrinsic values. These are fundamental values like truth, beauty and goodness. And the subjective values, some people like some values because they have a liking for that thing. These are called extrinsic or instrumental values that are just because they are good for something. These values depend upon consequences when used to achieve some other values. Then absolute values. These values are omnipresent and are true for all times, at all places and in all society. If I say truth always wins, honesty is the best policies. So these values, they are omnipresent in whichever society you go and whatever time you talk about it and whatever is the place. This value that honesty is the best policy stand always. So they do not change in any circumstances. These values are valuable in themselves and are not evaluated from outside. These are called sovereign values, because if you say that honesty is the best policy or truth always wins, then you need not ask the person from outside, whether you agree to it, whether this value is acceptable or not, because this is absolute value, there is no second opinion on this value. Then the educational values, these values are to enlighten the character and personality of students. It is difficult to prepare a list of such values which have educational values. If you ask me that as a teacher just prepare a list of the values, it is really difficult because the list is such a long list. And a list of those values which have non-educational values, these are values in themselves. And the values have been classified by various philosophers, various educationists according to their own. If I talk about Plato, Plato says that there are three values only: Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram, or truth, beauty and goodness. And if I talk about modern classification of values, that is the immediate values and remote values. And further, this remote values can be subdivided in two values, that is instrumental or extrinsic values and intrinsic values. We would like to have more knowledge, more deeper idea about this classification. See, what is immediate values? Some goals are very near to us, and through fulfilling those values or adhering to those values, one is able to satisfy the immediate needs only. For example, if a child is there who is interested in listening the poetry or the writing the poetry, will spend more and more time in listening and writing the poetry or poems of the great poets. That will satisfy his or her immediate needs of listening or writing poetry. Then remote values, some are values are not immediate, they are remote values, and this kind of remote values, for fulfilling these remote values, we need our intellect, because out of using our intellect, we try to select which are the values which can be fulfilled right now immediately, and what can be fixed for the coming time, for the future. And these values further can be subdivided into two types. First is the instrumental. What do we mean by instrumental value? They help in realizing or fulfilling the other needs which are far, and they change according to the, because they are subjective, they change according to the circumstances. Earlier I have spoken to you that some needs are independent, they do not change, they are eternal, they are absolute, they do not change according to the needs and circumstances and time and places. But some needs are subjective, they change accordingly, according to the change in the circumstances. Because if we talk earlier what was value, these days it is not value. For example, if we talk the concept of co-education, earlier the concept of co-education was not so much accepted, and these days it is everywhere. So the concepts keep on changing. What was earlier value, these days it may not be value. Then the intrinsic value, what do we mean by intrinsic value? They are an itself, they do not depend on the other value, because their ultimate value, they do not depend upon anything external. They are not subjective, but they are objective in nature. They give satisfaction to the spiritual soul. Our needs, they have hierarchy. First of all, any individual in any society, in any strata, will like or will go for satisfying the biological needs. Then after that, safety and security needs. Then lastly, on the fifth level hierarchy of those motivational needs, one thinks of that self-esteem, or further that self-realization. When one is not hungry and all the needs of security and safety are fulfilled, then one thinks of the higher needs, that is the needs of self-realization. So these are our values which help us to take to the self-realization or the needs of the spiritual soul. Just rising above the needs of the or time of the materialistic needs, because if we talk about these biological needs, then there is no difference between human being and the animals. All the five needs, all the five activities, they are done by the animal as well as the human being. How we are different? We are different from the animals. We have got intelligence. God has given us what we call in the buddhi and vivek, and by using that intellect, we can just select or reject what is good for us, and how we can realize ourselves and for what I am born, what I am doing for the society, what I am doing for the nation. Is it a value acceptable in my society? Is it according to the norms or not? So one thinks, start thinking after rising above the materialistic needs, after standing above the materialistic time, one thinks of realizing the spiritual soul, that is our intrinsic value, and they form a unity, since it is the personality as a whole which is affected, because we have the three domain: cognitive, conative and affective. We do not have heart only, we do not have mind only, we have various aspects like social, emotional or spiritual and physical. All aspects have to combine, have to work as a unity. Only then because we have to develop our students' personality as a whole, we focus on the holistic development of the individual. So we have to prepare our students what is the value, what is the need of the value, so that we can inculcate the value among our students, and they can realize just after rising above these materialistic need, what is the need of my spiritual soul, and what can I do for satisfying my soul. Then objectives of value education. When we are talking about value education, we will have to see what are the objectives of value education: physical, intellectual and aesthetic development of personality, then inculcation of a scientific temper and democratic moral and spiritual values, then development of self-confidence to innovate and face unfamiliar situation, then creation of awareness of physical, social, technological and economic cultural environment, then fostering a healthy attitude towards dignity of labor and hard work, and commitment of principles of secularism and social justice, then a dedication to uphold the integrity and honor and foster the development of the country and promotion of international understanding. See, earlier to it, in the beginning, I talked to you that in our constitution, we have focus on the democratic values like dignity of labor, tolerance and the scientific temper, and the positive attitude towards dignity of labor, commitment to the principles of secularism, no discrimination between people on the basis of caste, color and creed. So how these values can be inculcated among our students? This is the need of the hour. Objectives of value education is because we do not if we do not develop our youngsters, our students on the basis of this value education, then we cannot stop this kind of value erosion among our youngsters. Then our country, even after, in spite of progressing in the other field of science, technology, commerce, medicine and industry, we will be lagging behind further and further on the front of ethics. We have to just hold on our ethic, and we have to develop our students, our youngsters on the basis of ethics, so that we may not lag behind in this spiritual time. So we have to focus on it. I hope this all is clear to my listeners and my viewers that this is the need of the time and the value education is important. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, viewers and listeners. In this session, we'll talk about the educational implications of value education. What is the impact of modernity on human values, and how the values influence the education and how the life influence the values, both interact each other. So we'll discuss how the erosion of the values is taking place and how far the individual is responsible for that, and what can be the role of the teachers, how we can inculcate the value education among our youngsters, among our students, because this is the need of the time. So let us first discuss what is the impact of modernity on human values. First, it is very important, very essential to understand what do we mean actually by modernity. Modernity here does not mean the wearing the latest clothes or according to the dressing up style. Rather, modernity is the wider term. Modernity means there is a change, the revolution in our thoughts, in our thinking process, how we think about the society, and how can we keep pace with the advanced countries so that we are not lagging behind. So first of all, let us see what is the impact of modernity. First is the degradation in human values. In the beginning, I am talking time and again we come across listening or saying the people that there is the degradation in the human values and youngsters, they do not behave. So what is that degradation? First of all, we have to know what is that yardstick. How can we measure that the particular individual is behaving according to the value norms or against the value norms? So we need a yardstick. So what is that yardstick? Our society, we live in that society, and the structure of the society or the norms of the society we have to adhere, which are established by our society. First, degradation in human values. How this degradation is taking place? Because with the advent of science, modern technology, we have progressed a lot, but what is happening? The man is busy in amassing the wealth only, and forgotten the natural values which are essential for our society, that is the feeling of tolerance, love, affection and welfare of the other, because the man has become self-centered with the advent of science and technology and do not think about the welfare of the other person and has become self-centered. So that is why we can say that modernity has influenced the human values. Man has become self-centered. Then impact of religion. Earlier, the values were being incorporated in the schools, in the institutions, but these days the youngsters, our students, they have forgotten the values, and religion has different kind of impact on our youngsters. Then lust for money and power. When power comes, one may forget how to behave with others, and with the power, one what happens, starts bribe or the corruption or the other self-centeredness. If power and money brings this evil with us, then it's not desirable. Power doesn't mean that there should corruption with it or any kind of defame with it. So one has to be careful that there should be no lust for money and power. We have to think about the welfare of the other person. Then change in customs and traditions. With the advance of modernity, there is a change. Our youngsters, they have forgotten their customs and their religion, and they are running after the culture of the other countries. As I have talked in the previous session, that I talked to you that there was a clash between the European values and the Indian traditional values, and ultimately what happened, the European values they started dominating, as the Macaulay in 1835 said that we want to produce a class of people who should be Indian in blood and in their opinion and their taste, they should be Britishers, they should be European like, and it is happening everywhere. We have forgotten our customs. Then impact on culture, we have forgotten our culture. What was our culture? That a feeling of brotherhood and the tolerance and love for each other, and there is nuclear family system is coming on, taking place, and we have forgotten how to live with the other members in a family or in a society. So there is a change in custom, there is a change in thinking, because with the advent of nuclear society, the children, they do not want to live and share, which was our gist of our constitution and of the values of our country, that one has to live with others in a cooperative manner. So we have forgotten. Then impact on civilization, our civilization has also changed, our lifestyle, our food habits, our living, our talking, everything has changed. So the modernity has changed our human values. Then erosion of values, the important thing is to be understood by everyone how this erosion of values is taking place. What is the reason behind it? First is the caste system. With the advent of education and facility of education everywhere, this should have been abolished, but theoretically it is being abolished. Still, there is a change in the values of the people. Somewhere in the name of the caste, the values are being just destroying itself. Then social disorganization, and in our society there are many evils like caste system, dowry system, and or women feticide, girl feticide. So these are the drawbacks taking place in our society. Then marital disorganizations, and people or the youngsters, they have forgot how to live, how to sacrifice for each other, and more clashes are taking place in the family, more and more divorces are taking place. What is it? Because our youngsters, our people, our countrymen, countrywomen, they have forgotten how to live with each other, how to make sacrifices, because family is an institution. If we cannot live in a family with a feeling of love and affection, what can we do for the nation, for the country as a whole? How can we establish national understanding and international understanding? Then malpractices in our society is also taking place everywhere, like bribery, corruption, or caste system, or false selection of the candidates. So these are the malpractices which are taking place, which are spoiling our society. Then selfishness. Man is busy, as I was talking to you, that amassing the wealth, running after the wealth, running after the power, has forgotten what are the values, what I am doing. Here I would like to quote the great Saint Vivekananda, who said that we have to see end is important, but the means through which we are taking, or we are achieving, we are fulfilling our end, that is also important. If means to achieve that end is not good, not genuine, not fair, then that end is not good. So we have to see what are the means. Means is also important. How we have achieved that power. If we have achieved that power or money with the wrong means, then it is not good, that you are not fulfilling, you are not doing good for your soul, because ultimately we have to reply to our conscience, we have to reply to the God what we are doing. So we have to see what our means. We have to leave selfishness. Then social indiscipline, we are becoming time and again indisciplined, because the discipline from outside is not good. We have to prepare our youngsters who are self-disciplined. Then there is no justice in the society. If there is no justice, if there is malpractices, then the erosion of values will be certain. Then no social sensitiveness. It is very important to understand. People are no long have remained sensitive. Sensitivity is there, because if I mean here, if someone is suffering or going or passing through pain, one individual must have that kind of empathy, that kind of sensitivity towards that person's suffering and miseries. If that kind of sensitivity is there in any individual, then there will not be erosion of the values. But I am sorry to say that is not taking place in our society. People are not sensitive these days. Social exploitations, one is not bothering if one individual is getting the power and money by being exploiting the other person, will not lag behind, because one is self-centered and is not lagging behind being to exploit the other person. So this kind of exploitation is also an important reason lying behind the erosion of the values. Then development of science and technology. Of course, we welcome the advancement of the science and technology, but with the advancement of science and technology, if one individual forgets our culture, heritage and values, then it is not fair. Then rise of materialism. In the era of materialism, one is running after the money only and forgotten the spiritual values. So if we forget our spiritual values, and if we have we are not thinking what is right and what is wrong, then it's not fair. Because in our education system also we also talk that we have to learn the discriminatory power, what is right and what is wrong. Now see, what is the influence of values on life? Life influences the values and values as well as influence the life. See, when an individual thinks that this thing is right or wrong, his or her life is molded accordingly. See, when we see this is right, we will be motivated to walk that way. If we think that this is wrong, we will not be doing that. So our life is just directed by our values which we have selected. Values are our preferences. In accordance with these, we decide about right or wrong, good or bad. Thus, value give direction to our life. Values give meanings to our life and ideas. It is why the different societies and countries have different values. Now, vice versa, influence of life on values. Values, especially the extrinsic values, are influencing our economic, social, political, geographical factors. It has been debated many times whether life influences the values or value influences the life, but the result is that both are cyclic, both are influencing each other. Now, education and value. After talking about the types of values and need of value education, or the factors what are lying behind the erosion of values, or the impact of modernity on values, or the impact of science and technology, we need to discuss what is the education and value, what is the need of inculcating the values among our youngsters. According to Reid, education is part of life, and nearly a question about values and education are inseparable from larger questions of values in life. Values are embodied in educational practice. Thus, education develops a sense of discrimination between good and bad. Thus, discrimination is based on values and are taught and tested in schools. So, we see that discriminatory power is very important. We have to teach our students that there is a need to learn how to discriminate between good and bad, because if among the established values we are able to discriminate, we are able to select what is right and what is wrong, then one individual is likely to proceed on the path of values which are established by our society. What are the school programs for developing values of various kinds? Because our institutions, our teachers, our teacher educators, they can play a vital role in inculcating the values among our youngsters. First of all, there is no doubt that as a teacher and as a parent, we have to set our own example. If we are an example for our youngsters. We need to there is no need to organize any activity or just to give them any lecture, because whatever they are seeing, whatever they are receiving, they will express. So first of all, we have to become as an example of values and ideals. They should be knowing that this, our parents and our teachers and our elders, they are not going to astray from their values. They will adhere to the values. And further, what programs we can organize in our schools? First is community prayer in the school. This is very important. When all the children, they sing prayer in a group, in a chorus, related to our values, or the which are the prayers for good for the welfare of the society. This way, by singing the prayer or patriotic song, we can inculcate a feeling among the youngsters how to establish peace and welfare for the society at local level, at national level, as well as international level. Then health and cleanliness program. As we know that in our country these days, Swachh Bharat Mission is being focused, emphasized time and again. So it is very important that in our schools and colleges, health and cleanliness program can be organized, so that this kind of value regarding the health and hygiene can be inculcated among our students. Then socially useful productive work. Separate to our theoretical programs, we as a teacher can organize some of the programs in our schools, like chalk making or candle making, or any activity, or painting programs, or other activities which can be useful for the society as a whole. These programs will inculcate in our youngsters creative activity, as well as they can produce some socially useful work. Citizenship training program. This is very important, because earlier I was speaking to you that children have forgotten the feeling of tolerance, love, affection, or the brotherhood, which were focused or which were emphasized in our constitution, and the dignity of labor. All these values have been forgotten almost. Why? These things should be focused, these aspects should be focused in our curriculum, and not theoretically only in our schools, in our college, in our institution, in our community, in local programs. These kind of activities should be organized. Such training programs should be organized, where our youngster can come to know what are the qualities of a good citizen. Because in our education system also, we focus on some of the aims, and one of the important aim is to prepare good citizen. Is our topmost values, is the important aim of our education system. We have to prepare good citizens, not the citizen only who can earn bread and butter only for themselves. Rather, we have to produce citizens who can think for the nation as a whole. How can peace and welfare can be established in our nation, and as well as the international level. Then celebration of national festival. Most of the time I see that there is a holiday on national festival, and students do not know for what the holiday was declared. So I suggest that before the holiday or the next day to the holiday, you as a teacher can ask the students, write an essay, or write how did you celebrate the festival, and what was the importance, and who was the great leader or the educationist or our scientist behind this holiday, why did we celebrate. So this way, that life history or that activities which was done by that leader in the past can become an ideal for the students, and then they can learn. Cultural and recreational programs, because we are not to produce the bookworm only, or we should organize some cultural programs by organizing some singing programs, some action or some drama, some natak, some cultural program. Through our patriotic songs, we can inculcate the feelings of values among our youngsters. This way they can just entertain themselves also, and our purpose will be fulfilled, included because we have to inculcate the feelings of patriotic sort of among our youngsters. So by organizing this natak or this song or patriotic or a bhajan, we can inculcate such kind of feelings among our students. Then social service programs, because we have to remove that kind of self-centeredness among our youngsters, so we can organize some social programs where they can contribute their self in organizing that activity, like cleanliness program or blood donation camp, or we can take our students to the hospital so that they can just contribute their help for the patients, or they can help the doctors over there. So any kind, or NSS programs we can organize. Then appropriate teaching learning situation. Above all, we as a teachers or teacher educators has to see that the learning environment in our institution should be congenial, so that students have a feeling to learn, because we have to focus on the holistic development, and this kind of holistic development is possible when there is a conducive or congenial program. We want to develop a feeling of perseverance and patience among our students. So how this kind of feeling of tolerance and feeling of brotherhood or love and affection and perseverance and patience can be inculcated among our youngsters when we organize such kind of activities. And emphasis on the unity of all religions, all languages, all communities, all national integration, because there is a unity in diversity. How can we maintain that unity being so much diversity in the area of language or the caste or the culture or our festivals? So we have to make efforts so that our India remain as united, being so much diversity. So we have to organize such kind of programs which inculcate the values among our students. And after this, we can conclude nothing is permanent in this world. I talked that there are two types of values: eternal values and relative values, which keeps on changing. And we have to prepare our youngsters with that discriminatory power, where they can decide, where they can select what is right for me, what is bad for me, and what is good for the nation and what is bad for the nation. What do I choose? What should I select? What are the values which should be selected and what are the values which should be rejected? Life is always on the move, and so are the values. We were having earlier to this program discussion whether the values change. Yes, because the drama is the representation of the society. Values are also being influenced by the life we live. So life is always on move. We are not static, we are dynamic. So the lifestyle which we live changes our values, but those changes should be acceptable according to our society. So we should develop that kind of discriminatory power among our youngsters, where they can select what is right, what is wrong. It is felt that we are developing technologically, scientifically we are moving on, but we are lagging behind on the front of ethics or the spiritual development. We are morally and spiritually lagging. Why we are lagging? Because there is erosion of the values. So who has to make efforts? Basically, one individual has to realize how far I am responsible, but we as a teacher, we as a parent have to see how to inculcate the right values among our youngsters. This is creating a type of lag in the society, because on the one hand we are moving on the modernity, we are improving in the medicine of science and technology, and we are trying to keep pace with the higher developed countries, but on the other side we are lagging behind and we are forgetting our culture, we are just losing our ethics. So this is not fair. It will create a social lag, or it will create a cultural lag. It is thus hope that inculcating of spiritual and moral values in our education system will improve upon the total scene. So I hope by this all discussion, viewers and listeners agree to this, that we as a teacher can inculcate the values among our youngsters, and this is the need of the hour. If we do not inculcate the right values among our youngsters, then this gap between the modernity and our culture will become wide, and it will be difficult to improve ourselves on the national and international front. With this note, I would like to conclude that we have to see what are the values which go in the favor or which go for the welfare of the society, because we are not living for ourselves only, we are living for the society. We have to make sacrifices, we have to think for the welfare of the society, and for this we have to inculcate the right values among our youngsters. Thank you very much.
With this note, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much for giving us a very good discussion on value education. And dear friends, we believe that these lectures are not merely a lecture for you. It's a kind of, I would say, a lesson through which we could bring a positive change within ourselves. So keep bringing changes within yourself, and we believe that the better you would become a better citizen tomorrow, a better individual tomorrow. And for this, we need you to watch the lectures continuously, regularly, and after watching the lectures, if you feel so that you need to ask certain questions, then also you can mail us at info.cc@nic.in. And as we have quoted many times, that Dr. Parveen Sharma is also a consultant to whom you can definitely post your queries if you are feeling that your certain answers to be questioned. So do write to us at info.cc@nic.in. We would be meeting again very soon and would be discussing on another new topic. Ma'am, as we are about to wind up the session today, value has become a very important ingredient. First of all, I would say as parents and as teachers, we need to we need to develop a skill among the children. But before that, we need to act properly before the children, so that the better values can be inculcated.
If I ask my children or my student to follow this value, and if as a parent and as a teacher I am not adhering to that value, it will be difficult, rather it will be impossible to tell about that value. So first of all, I have to set myself as an example for that value.
Definitely. What I will do is what perceived by the society. So if you want to bring the positive change in the society, and especially if you want to bring positive change in the children, we as the adults should take the responsibility of behaving properly. Once again, thank you so very much for watching us. Keep watching us, keep writing us. We would be meeting again very soon. Till then, take care. Goodbye. Thank you, and thank you once again.
Thank you, Geetika ji. Thank you, listeners and viewers.